when you're true to yourself, you can be true to others, and that makes you a true leader. And
Hmm.
it's something that I have had the absolute honor and pleasure for almost a year now of sharing this stage with these two amazing co-hosts, Jim Chong and Mike Van Pelt. And so here we are in a current series called Leaders Are. And it's been this whole year since January 1 or right about then that we started this. And it's different descriptors on what leaders are and different things we can be better at. Maybe we're great at, and maybe at the point once you start becoming great at it, what do they always say about someone who masters something? You only truly master it if you can teach it. And so that's really where we've been
Wow.
spending our time here lately is expressing these things that we've learned or mastered, or maybe we're working on mastering. I mean, there's been different times we've thrown suggestions out that all of a sudden either Mike or Jim or I commented on the other part to add to it or maybe refine it a little bit. That's really what we're here to do. Leaders are learners. We talked about that a long time ago. And so if you ever want to join us to join in these amazing conversations that we have, let one of us know. Email us. They're going to give you contact information later. Or if you're catching this on Facebook, we're live in the Global Cooperative Chamber Facebook group. Of course, we always share to our personal pages. So let us know. We would love to have you on, love to have you join us. And today's topic is one that depending on how we take it, it can be very serious. Now, all of these can be, but this one really, just this word, when I hear it, I just kind of get that extra bit of Rocky in me. The boxer Sylvester Stallone, like, not gonna quit. I'm not gonna quit. Doesn't matter how many times life knocks you down, it's how many times you get up. Right, when he was yelling at his son. And so the reason for that is because leaders work hard. Leaders are hard workers. See what I did there, Mike? That was for you. Because we do that, because we're goal setters, because we're winners. We don't do this from an egotistical perspective or a pride, but we are proud of what we do. Well, in order for us to start to achieve our goals, we talked about goal setting last week. This week, we're talking about being determined. Leaders are determined. That no matter what, they hold. And last week we spent a good amount of time, something Jim brought up, we spent a good amount of time talking about keeping the promises that we make. And that's huge for leaders. That's huge for those that are working with you, that you serve as a servant leader to them. They see your determination. Now, where I want to kick this off, though, is there's a fine line between crazy and determined. And so, gentlemen,
Well,
get ready, because that's where I'm taking this. There is a lot of psychology built into determination versus craziness. And something that I remember hearing a long time ago that I needed in my life at the time was the definition of crazy is doing something over and over again the exact same way, expecting the same results. So there is a difference between I'm determined to make this happen and just plain crazy that maybe it will. Maybe you need to think of a different way of doing it. Take that determination, take that strength, take that power, and refocus it. Maybe pivot it a little bit. And so, Jim, I'm going to come to you first this week. Where do you draw that line between I'm determined to make this happen and I'm starting to get a little crazy about this? And not crazy in a good way.
okay. Well, I think that one of the things, at all costs, being determined is good, but you got to determine your threshold, right? I mean, race car really wants to be able to, driver wants to be able to win, but they have a thing called redlining. You can only redline it for so long before the engine will blow up. And so I think crazy is that red line portion where you're kind of maybe overdoing it. For instance, my goal was to make X, let's just say make, $1 million in 2 years, but yet none of the things point to it. And if I am determined, I do think you can keep that goal, but you might have sub goals along the way. And so basically you have to see if you're really positioned to be able to do what you're trying to accomplish, you're determined to accomplish. It doesn't really make sense to completely try and assume you're going to be able to accomplish it. There's a difference between doing it to see what you can complete if it's just not realistic. For instance, you do not want me to fix your car, not just because I'm Asian, right? There's a different thing, but it's because it's well, there's a joke about Asian drivers, right? but but the whole thing is that it would be crazy to have me fix your car simply because I'm not a mechanic at all. Okay, so that would be crazy to have me do something I'm not versed in. And if you set an expectation that's just really not realistic, that's somewhat subjective. And of course, you got to be visionary in goals you set. But I think that line is when it really just doesn't make sense. It does not make sense to have me work your car, work on your car, just like it wouldn't make sense to have you, Mike Van Pelt, teach Chinese. You know why it wouldn't make sense, Mike?
Well, I can think of a lot of reasons.
But because you don't speak Chinese, right? I mean,
No, not a lick.
That's a good reason. So it doesn't even make sense. So a lot of people are, and I think it's a great conversation because a lot of people are determined. I'm going to hit this goal. I'm going to hit it, which is great. I think the determination is great, but it's hard to say you're going to make $1 million if you've never made 100,000. You know what I mean? So start with some sub goals. You can still set the goals, but you have to see if it's, visionary but realistic. So that fine line is reality versus just your passion. Okay. So
yeah, absolutely. And that's the thing. And we talked about leaders being passionate about what they do and how they're doing it. The thing is, what's the driving force behind it? Is it just go, 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 no matter what? I've got blinders on. I'm going to get this. And then you're not. And then you keep doing it that way. Are you seeking help? You want to learn how to earn $1 million? Go find someone who did it. Shoot, pull it up on YouTube. It's on there. I know it is because I've seen it. I looked it up. I'll be honest. I was like, man, how do I make $1 million? And one of the suggestions was, have you made 1,000 yet? It's like, yeah. Okay. Have you made 10,000 yet? Getting there. Back then. To this point, make 100,000 first and then grow it. And so Mike, then, we talked a little bit about this last week, and we used the physical fitness example because that's really one of the easiest ones to break apart. But without crossing that fine line into crazy of being determined, how do we set realistic expectations and goals then?
It's a great question, Chris. Thank you for asking that.
You're welcome.
I just have to say this since Jim brought up racing. It was Mario Andretti that said, if everything seems under control, you're just not going fast enough. Which is interesting because if you know anything about racing, and I've been to the Indianapolis 500 many times, there's a very fine line between crazy and fast. And I mean very fine line. Because if you go over the top, you're probably going to take somebody into the wall with you. But seriously, I think the most important thing that you do is get a plan together, get it down on paper, and execute on it. Now, there's nothing crazy about that per se, but the crazy people are the ones that actually take the time to do it. Now, that in and of itself may sound funny, but a good majority of people do not set and achieve goals and don't put themselves out on the edge to try to achieve them. I mean, they just don't. I want to tell you that statement that I made is not true, but
Oh, it is. It's absolutely.
Yeah. I mean, people keep backing it up, and the crazy people, are not. I mean, they might be these crazy people that do all these fun little antics you might see on America's Got Talent or something like that. But the crazy people, man, they're the people that set, achieve, and go after their goals. Those are the crazy people. I want to hang out with the crazy people, by the way.
Yeah, and there is a fine
line. And what? Oh,
go ahead, Jim. No, you're good. Go.
Oh no, I'm sorry. I was going to say you did qualify it there's crazy, like visionary make change. You said not the good crazy, you know. So that's what I was going
Well,
up
not
as well. But I think,
dangerous. It's not dangerous,
yeah,
right? I mean, you're
yeah,
not going to see me standing on the rim of a 15-story building, let alone a 10-story building. I'm going to
yeah,
have my feet firmly planted on the ground.
Okay, I might do
yeah.
that, to be honest with you. I'm known for skydiving, but
Oh,
but
And
geez.
you know,
there's a
here's
context. There's a context to it all
there's a
too. And I think
calculated
that's important.
context to this.
Yeah,
Exactly.
true.
There's a
Yeah.
calculated. Yes, you look at those that were innovators and changers, that have just made absolute advances in human technology, or maybe they said, hey, you know what? I'm going to be a multimillionaire or billionaire. I don't know exactly how I'm going to get there, but I've got some vehicles to use to be able to drive this thing to get it there. And you'll have those around you this area. Oh, you're just crazy. You're crazy. You're crazy. Yeah, I'm okay with that.
Mm.
But there also is that fine line of how I kick this off with saying there's also those that just spin their wheels and have no calculation to it.
Yeah.
Those that
Yeah.
were crazy enough to do it, yeah, they will admit, yeah, when I first got started, I had no idea, but I figured it out. I got help. I researched things. I found what didn't work and I made adjustments. I made pivots and I stayed determined on the end goal. The process may have changed, but the end goal stayed. Come back to race car driving. I know a little bit about it. I know what the end goal is: finishing first.
Amen.
What if you're not in first? Better figure out what's going to get it there. And they have a whole team over there in the pit, the crew. Hey, tires, we got to switch them. Someone's coming in. They switch their tires. Hey, we need a gas up, whatever. Something's not running right. I mean, it's amazing watching pit crews work. That way a car gets bumped up a little bit and they throw tape on it. Okay, like literally tape. I know there's special stuff to that, and I guarantee you somebody crazy enough said, hey, instead of those cars not being able to do a great job getting around the track because they lost aerodynamics because they bumped the wall, let's throw a little tape on it and see what happens. Somebody was crazy enough to do that. Guaranteed they're sitting back counting their money. Because said, nah, you can't throw tape on a car and fix it. Yeah, proved you wrong. Silly putty, multi-million-dollar idea. Silly putty. It's special Play-Doh that doesn't get all over the place and you can use it to copy comics, right? There's so many things out there that absolutely, yeah, it's a crazy idea, but there is that fine line between determined and crazy, or even, if you will, going psychotic over something when you're working 25 hours a day, eight days a week. We knew it was going to happen. Jim, thank you so much. I know he can't hear us. He did have to go. He did forewarn me earlier, and I forgot to say that in the intro, so I'll cover getting contact information out for him later. But there is this fine line between working 24 hours a day, 25 hours a day, 8 days a week. Now, I know that's a phrase, and sometimes it just needs to get done. And maybe I am a little crazy for getting that done. However, I also know there's going to come a time where when I'm sitting on the beach with Mike Van Pelt after we just watched whatever race that's close to the beach, Daytona. That's what I was trying to think. You said Indy earlier, and I got stuck on it. We get to go to Daytona, sit in VIP section, and we go hang out on the beach.
Sure.
Why? Because at one point in time, we were determined enough and crazy enough to meet and exceed our goals.
Yeah.
So yes, there are those times for that. But when you're constantly doing it and you're not seeing results, there's your difference. There's your difference. Seek those that have done it. Believe me when I say there's not too many. I'm not saying there's no new ideas out there, but there's not too many processes that are out there that someone hasn't figured out or done some work on, that maybe it's not exactly how you're doing it. Maybe you are that true innovator that changes the face of how things are done. But somewhere along the line, there is a commonality in it that someone has done. So, Mike, now that we've established that difference, and we understand there's certain safety nets, and sometimes you got to cut the nets. So how do we go from I've got an idea, I've got a goal set, to getting determined in it and making it happen without crossing that fine line?
Determination is an interesting thing to try to wrap your arms around, don't you think? I mean, it's I gotta say, last week I was sick, man. I get that down
I
with
was wondering if you were going to come that way.
down with the vid again, and that crazy thing keeps rearing its ugly head around us all. But I had a thing happen to me because on the very day I was supposed to start my whole detox thing, I get COVID. Why? I mean, I don't know why, but I just think that it's interesting that it happened on the same day that I was really wanting to do something for my mind, for my body, and for my soul. And so what did it do? I gotta say, man, it really like lit a fire underneath me. It was like, oh, somebody's trying to take this away from me. And I'm like, I'm not letting you take this away from me. I'm not letting you take this. And man, I'll tell you, last week was tough, right? I'm essentially fasting to some degree or another. My body's trying to adjust and I'm sick at the same time. And I gotta say, I couldn't tell what was going on, but I was just determined to get to the end goal. Like I just wanted it. Like, and I didn't want anybody to take that from me. And I'll be honest, I feel that way about a lot of things. And for me, understanding what that line is of determination and crazy, I think there's been a lot of maturity and wisdom that has come with understanding what that line is. And, sometimes that's just experience. And I don't think enough gets said about experience. You know, I mean, sometimes you got to live a little, and in the middle of living a little, you get a little beat up, you know. But if you can stay determined, if you can stay purpose driven, if you can stay goal oriented, you got a shot at this thing, because the reality is in the middle of trying to do something good, you're going to get a scab or two, you're going to get beat up a little bit. And that's part of the gig. That's part of the gig. And I think half the battle is recognizing it for what it is. But I don't know if I answered your question. Determination is a hard thing, I think, to put a number on. But I gotta say, at least I can. I know when somebody's determined versus crazy. They just got a thing. It's just a thing.
And and you did. And I think the key word is determination in and of itself to me is not hard. I'm going to see about changing the language here a little bit. As much as it is finding that balance.
Yeah.
I think it's the finding the balance. The reason why I say that is as you were talking about that, you're talking about your detox and the things you're going through. Things do not happen. Sorry, things do happen overnight. Major goals don't. I look at, I'm going to come back to physical fitness. One, because it's something I know a little bit about, and two, it's because it's one that's easily relatable. How many times, especially at New Year's, you hear, I'm going to lose weight. I'm determined I'm going to lose weight. And my question is, well, how are you going to get it? What are you losing? How are you trying to lose it? What's your measurements? I mean, and this is not, by the way, advice to anybody. These are the things that go through my head. Because if you just say, I'm going to lose weight, yeah, I got my gym membership, I'm going to lose weight. Here's the thing. Most people stop going to the gym, and actually it used to be 6 weeks. It's now, I think, 2 weeks.
Yeah, that sounds
2
about right.
weeks people quit. So are you actually determined? No, you're not. I'm just going to be honest with you. Don't tell me you're determined and you don't have a plan. Don't tell me you're determined and you're not actually doing it. Don't tell me you're determined when you quit. Sorry, just not true. And so I hear that, and then I start asking those questions, and they don't have answers for them. It's like, that's what it takes. You want to make $1 million, be ready to get to work. You want to run marathons, those aren't mine. You want to run marathons, ultras, all that stuff. Don't expect to go out on a 10-mile jog and feel good the next day if you've never run more than a mile. I do know that. I'm not saying that's advice. I just know that. It's just how it works. You have to do the work. You have to put a plan together, and then you stay determined to do it. It's really a second step to the goal setting from where we talked last week. Set the goal. I want to do this. And as you're setting it, you start to plan it. That's what builds in your determination. How determined am I actually to do this? If I say I'm going to lose 30 pounds in a month, one, probably going to get sick. Two, it can be done, but is it really necessary? Now we're running borderline crazy. You're not going to be eating. But if I say I'm going to do it in 3 months, 4 months, and I have a plan set with it and I stick to the plan, now, and this is coming back full circle to Mike's statement about most people just don't do it. Now you can start showing your determination. Don't tell me what you're going to do. Show me what you're going to do. Don't tell me, oh, yeah, I can do this, this, and this, and then you don't show me. More importantly, show yourself. More importantly, show your family. Show those you serve. Now, if I'm coaching you, I'm going to tell you, show me. If you're watching this going, well, I'm not sure. There are plenty of people, Mike, I'm coming back to you on this. There are plenty of people in your life, I guarantee you, you truly find them. Proper discernment. Something we've made mention several times through Givers University here. Shout out to E.A. Solkovitz. There are plenty of times that you've got to realize there's proper discernment in this and finding the right people who are going to support you in this and keep that going. Maybe it's a random text message. Maybe you need to call them. Maybe they run with you. My wife did not complete some of those medals by herself. She had people running with her to keep her accountable, keep her on time. She had a crew, was pushing her, keeping her food going. I've seen people that they do run some of those ultras by themselves. However, there are still plenty of people along that path helping them out. So, Mike, how do we stay determined once we get it going?
Well, I do think
I
do think a lot of it is having the right people around you. You know, if you don't have that support in place, man, I could say that a million times over. Just the last year alone, had I not had the right people around me, it would have been hard to keep going on some of the things I was working on. Even at lunch today, I was got invited to go to lunch, and we were having lunch with some pastors and spiritual leaders in the area, really trying to come up with a plan on how can we help these guys? How can we help the men? And what was interesting, a couple of the guys came up to me after the meeting and they were like, "Man, just keep doing what you're doing. Man, well, we just need more men like you." And I'm like, without those messages, without that kind of support over the last year, it just would have been tough to keep going, because trying to build what I'm trying to build right now is incredibly difficult. It requires a tremendous amount of patience and planning, and some of that, quite honestly, is all this online crap that's out there that you got to figure out. How do you market yourself? How do you market yourself in a world where you've only got 7 seconds for somebody to go, "Yeah, I need that," because our attention spans are so far off these days. But I just got to say, Chris, and it's just kind of popped into my head that, and I haven't seen the news this morning. I would like to say before we end today that I'm praying for the country of Israel. I'm
Amen.
praying for this country, and I'm praying that we can get through this. I'm praying that we can get through this without the chaos that it kind of feels like we're headed towards.
Yeah.
But I just want to say that.
I agree. And I think that's the thing is, I'm trying to remember. I don't remember who originally said this quote, but I've heard it several times. I know people put different plays to it, but the only way for evil to succeed is for good people to do nothing.
Yeah.
And here's the big thing about determination, everybody. Whoever is the most determined to make something happen, right, wrong, or indifferent, good, bad, or evil, or great, they're going to be the ones that succeed. So if you really are determined to do good, then it's time to get to work. It really is. You really want to win, show your determination by doing it. That's ultimately where it leads. It really is. You want to sit here and talk about competition this, competition that. Let's cooperate with your competition. Believe it or not, it works. I take cooperation over competition all day long. I need help. I reach out to those that I know that can help me. You really want to do good. You really want to be a true leader. Get determined with a plan in action, with a support system in action. that you know is going to get you there. You have all the right pieces in place. All of you do. All of us do. You really want to defeat evil, start doing some good and get determined that you're not going to let evil win, no matter where it's at, no matter what it's in. It could be life, business, or like Mike was just, expressing a prayer for Israel, for our country, for all the countries. I mean, everybody, this is, we're in a very interesting time in our world history. And those who are determined to succeed and want to do it the right way and actually do it, that's who's going to succeed. We don't want to see evil succeed. So that said, I'll speak real quickly on behalf of Jim. You go to zoomturtle.com. There's great ways to connect with him there. He's also, for some that may be watching that are in the Sacramento area, he does a lot of karaoke, so you can always look him up that way. Mike, how do we get a hold of you, and any final thoughts from you as we
sure. Drop me an email at Mike at truemanlifecoaching.com, and you can always check out my website and the podcast at truemanlifecoaching.com.
And
I think determination, if I had to finalize this, is really a fundamental part of being a leader. Because, when you're a leader, you got to put up with stuff that other people aren't willing to always put up with. And that's why you're a leader. And that's going to require some determination, because sometimes being a leader is a very, it could be a difficult job. So you got to have, again, the right people around you, and that determination, man, that grit, that ability, that want to, it's necessary.
Absolutely, it is. Absolutely. And this, the thing is I've been around a lot of great leaders, and I always remember one of the things that would draw me in is when they'd say, I am determined to make this success, or make you a success, or make you better. I think back when I was helping coach in MMA, we'd tell those guys when we're coaching them, we're determined for you to win. Are you?
Yeah.
And we would show it. And that's the biggie. Show me. You want to see how you can get more determined and reach your goals better, you can reach out to me, especially in leadership, Chris at eaglefireEnrichment.com. Love having those chats with people. It really does get me fired up, because I am always determined to better my best every day so I can be a better servant leader for everybody around me. So next week, we're going to be talking about dedicated. Now that we're determined, we're going to get dedicated. And we're going to see who's dedicated. Love that topic. Oh my gosh, that's fun. So that said, until next time, thank you all so much for being here. We truly appreciate you, Mike. Mike, thank you so very much. Really appreciate you. I even thought about this word last week when you texted me, because we're talking about goal setting and leaders are winners. He's like, I don't care how I feel, I'm determined I'm going to be there. And I was like, oh, I can't wait till the next week, which we just
little did I know how sick I was.
yeah, right. Ouch. So we're grateful you're doing better. Yes, prayers for our whole world. Let's make it better, folks. We really can. So till next week, have your best day ever. God bless you all. Make every day great. Remember, can't never did. We'll see you next time.